We're live. What's going on, D-bags? Hope you guys are doing well. Back at it again here with another episode of the Detox Podcast, episode 74. I knew that. I don't know why I had to check that. Episode 74. My name is Darren Rita. I'm your host, and if you want to connect with me, feel free to check out any of the links down below. If you're new here and you like music, podcasts, or comedy, do consider subscribing. We're trying to hit 600, and I think we're like 20 away. So we're getting really close. Before I introduce you guys, my guest this week, though, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about car insurance. These days, it seems as if you're able to do more and more from home. So while you're at home, why aren't you saving money on your car insurance? Your hometown agency, Kenosha Auto Insurance, specialized for years in simple, hassle-free insurance using the latest and touch-free technology to help you get the best rates for you and your family. So what are you waiting for? Give them a call today at 262-448-4141. That's 448-4141. The website is kenoshains.com. It's up on the screen right now. One last time, that's 262-448-4141. Give them a call. Let them know that Detox, D. Rita sent you. They will set you up. Check them out. I promise you the worst that can happen is you get the best rates. Now, with all that being said and out of the way, I'm really excited to introduce you guys my guest this week. He's a bright, young, and motivated financial advisor who, funny enough, went to the same grade school, high school, and first college as myself. Among other things, he's a really great guy. And so without further ado, let's give a wet detox welcome to Roren Finney. We still don't got the clap track, but I say it every week like I'm gonna get one. I don't know how to do that. So what's going on, man?
Yeah, no, thank you for that intro. I like it.
I appreciate you being here, and congrats. We were just talking prior to going live. Congrats on the house.
Yeah, thank you.
You're a first-time homeowner now.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And you're saying it's pretty crazy. And I'm sure it was a scary, somewhat daunting process as well.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Researching the different mortgages to like having to actually find the property that you want to invest in or just live in for more than like 5 to 10 years. You don't know what you're doing in 5 to 10 years from now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just finding that perfect house. I mean, obviously with my girlfriend now come fiance that just happened too.
Congratulations on that as well.
For sure. And no, so it's like that forever home. You don't know what that's going to happen, but yeah, no, it's pretty awesome.
In this moment, do you think it's the forever home?
It's at least a 10-year home for sure. That's what we found. I mean, it's in a great neighborhood, yard big enough rooms for potential kids down the line. So yeah, definitely. That's
sweet, dude. So like, I mean, you're only a year older than me, and you've got a house under your belt now. That's what kind of mindset you got to have to like even get into that. So for those that don't know, before we get into the rest of this, Roren, I mentioned he's a financial advisor. So we're going to be focusing on some more like financial topics. Maybe not completely, but definitely he's got a lot of knowledge, and he is, still actively learning and pursuing this. So he can definitely help both myself and maybe some of you watching learn a little bit more about what to do with your money. And speaking of, when it comes to buying a house so young, how do you even go about doing that?
It's like saving money. It's just one of those things that we were put in a great position, Faith and I, and we were just, every time that we were able to just save a bunch of money, I mean, have that, because like having that down payment is super crucial for that. So, I mean, just through high school and college, we were able to save a lot of money, because like, just like you going to URock, we got most of our like money, like the tuition paid for through like
Pell Grants and whatnot. Yeah,
all
exactly.
That kind of stuff. So during that time, any work that I was doing, I was going straight into my bank account.
Exactly. Instead of paying off student loans,
right,
like a lot of people have. Yeah.
So that's been really fortunate, and that's kind of led to that. But I mean, it's definitely a grateful situation. I'm super fortunate, and I'm not gonna lie.
What was like the first step that you were like, I want to get a house now? Like, was that like a conversation that you guys had?
Renting kind of sucks. I mean, just in general, just making that payment to someone else and they're making income, just like it's like a jab to you every time that you're giving them a check. Instead of like, it's a form of savings too, having a house. It's like you're putting equity into the home that you can take out at a later time. So we just figured that that's way better, and we're gonna try and get it into a house as quickly as possible. Gotcha. And another thing, she graduated a year before me, so she was more apt to like getting into a home. She's had like a year of salary in her and had like a cheap rent payment like the last year.
Mhm.
So we were just able to save a lot more money, and we're like, we just gotta get out of that apartment. So
Yeah. That's a huge step, though. I mean, going from the apartment. Granted, I don't know anything about that, but that is. I mean, it's got to be crazy.
Yeah, that's just the mindset that we were going into it, though. It's just like we didn't like making those rent payments, and how can we change that? And how can we start putting money away as well, even making that payment? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of crazy, though.
What was something like going in, or maybe something that like happened during the process of trying to get your first home that like you wouldn't have expected to be something, or like some hurdle that maybe surprised you?
Just like the sheer amount of money that was needed to like put towards like 20% down.
Mm-hmm.
Like in some areas like Beloit, like kind of where the U-Rock was, like some houses are super cheap, or in like different areas they're more expensive. So just like needing to like actually take all of your money out of like a savings account and put it into like this house.
That's
right?
a big chunk of change. Yeah.
Right. And then you're just kind of left with like back to like zero money in like your bank account. And that was like a mental hurdle to like get over. And
Okay.
it was hard, but and then like the amount of like different extra costs up front that were not going towards the house, just like the appraisal fees and just like the closing costs in general.
So did you go through a real estate agent then?
Yeah, we had a real estate agent for about a year and a half because we were just trying to look for a house for a very long time, and he was working with us through like, we were like, oh yeah, we need to find a house like now, because we were moving out of an apartment back like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And then we kind of did that again like 3-4 months ago before we moved into this house. It was like, oh, our lease is going up, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna renew it, or are we gonna go into the new house, or like actually buy one? And then it was like on afterburner trying to look for like the best house, and he like texting back and forth with him was just like back in. Yeah, it was pretty hectic. But
I feel like I would almost feel bad. Like I know for a time my mom was like looking at some other houses and whatnot, and like she had I think she had a friend that was a real estate agent. I can't remember. Maybe she'll correct me if she's watching it all. But I know like we had seen a couple of houses, and like I always felt so guilty when I was like, this one isn't it, or like going back and forth with them. And like I even have a friend, I mean Chaz, who's on the show a long time ago. I think we've got his real estate agent cards here somewhere. He he had some similar things. Did you ever feel like weird, like with like texting back and forth, like I don't know, that one's not gonna work? Do you ever feel bad, or is it?
I never actually thought about that, but yeah, just like going into the house being like, yeah, no, I don't like this house. Like,
yeah, but
like
you have to do that.
Yeah, you have to,
because it's I'm not gonna feel bad enough to fucking buy this house for this guy to not have his feelings hurt, or woman, like whatever.
Yeah, and especially right now that there's more buyers than like supply of houses on the market, so like there's gonna be someone else behind you that's gonna want to pick up the house. And so I mean, like if a house goes up for sale, like usually 2-3 days it's got like a few offers already into it. So it's just, in that case, you're more competitive, saying like, should we force some things? Are we going to be more okay with things and to actually get the house, to get it before someone else? So yeah, but there is those things where it's like, oh, the driveway is too steep and I just don't like it. And it's like, how does someone live like that all the time? It's like, oh, you're probably falling all the time down your driveway just taking out garbage. But like just different stuff like that. Yeah.
But I feel like it's like very like mindful of you to even notice those things. It's like a first time homeowner. Like I feel like in my head, I would just like be overseeing I wouldn't catch any of those things off the top of my head. I'll be like, oh, is it leaking anywhere? Does it have heat? Okay, we have water. All right, let's get it. Like,
and I mean, I was the same way. Like I was in that mindset for sure. Like like we've been looking for like a year and a half, so we've seen like so many different houses. And so at the first off, I was like, yeah, this is way better than our current apartment. Yeah. Obviously, we should move into this one.
Yeah, and this is great.
And then Faith is like back there like, no, that's actually terrible. Like, you can't compare it to our current living situation. You got to compare it to like what we're actually looking for.
Yeah,
and
that's
just like okay.
Yeah, if the bar is so low, you can't compare it to the bar. That's like a friend of mine. His little sister dated this like piece of shit guy back in high school and like cheated on her, all this stuff.
Oh man,
this is maybe a weird analogy, but he was a piece. And every time she would like break up with a new boyfriend, like after that, like her parents would be like, or she would start dating someone else that he didn't like. Her parents would be like, well, he's not as bad as so and so.
Right.
It's like, well, I mean, it's like that was like really bad. We don't. Is that the bar?
Yeah.
Is that where we're at? So
No.
yeah, I get what she was thinking. My girlfriend wants to live in a tiny house. We kind of behind the camera.
Once you're efficient or whatever, you can like move into there, and it's like, oh yeah, there's different practicalities that like, yeah, we can do this, but also you got to sacrifice a lot.
Yeah.
And like even for me, I have way too many clothes to go into a tiny house. Yeah. So I have way too many shoes.
Yeah.
And all that other stuff. So it was
It's a pipe dream. It like looks really cool, but like it's just not worth it, dude. It's so cheap, but I'm just not trying to live like that for an extended period of time.
It takes a certain kind of person. You know? You got to be okay with it, but
yeah. They're getting crazy though. Some of them aren't so tiny anymore. But Cade Marquis says bad house equals abusive boyfriend. Exactly. Exactly, my man.
There you go.
Now we're like I said, we were gonna get into some financial stuff, and we already started talking a little bit about home owning versus renting. But what would be, you know, for, I mean, obviously someone like me right now, I don't have any like payments like that, you know, mortgage or renting. But for those that are, maybe that either are paying for like room and board at school, or those that are maybe renting in like a college town or whatnot, like what would be like your piece of advice maybe for them to begin that transition of maybe moving away from renting, and why should they?
So there's different things. It's just like for us it worked, but for some it may not work. I mean, renting may be best because you don't think you're going to live there for a long period of time. Okay. You also have to think like we knew that we were going to stay in Madison for that extended period of time because of family and all this other stuff. So if you're thinking you're only going to be in school for like 4 years, maybe get an intro level job and then move away, then you might want to consider renting because it's going to be cheaper and you can move more flexibly than, you know, just
then
like
if you bought a house and you have to sell the house.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, and there's like condos where like you can buy like a piece of like basically an apartment in like a whole complex and have it like sell quicker, or you can rent it out or whatever. But I mean, for like, you just got to distinguish like if you want to like continue making those rent payments, or maybe there's a cheaper option for renting. Or if you want to commute a further distance, like get out of instead of right next to your job or whatever it is. I mean, we made the decision to like move a little bit off campus to get like a cheaper apartment. And I took the bus like to school every day instead of like having the school be 7-minute walk. So I mean, you just gotta choose what works for you. Right, that's exactly. What I kind of figured you were gonna say. It's gonna be super dependent on your situation, but I mean, in general, just trying to figure out like, because it kind of relates to others' expenses too. It's not just like your rent payment leading to a house payment, because like a house is super expensive. Like I'm figuring out now, it's just like making that your own. There's like a lot of like extra costs, like property taxes and even softener salt for your water softener, which is like ridiculous, but like it's like $15 a month just like putting salt pellets into your freaking, just to have like soft, what, like different stuff. Well, and like things break, like you know, like you don't call the landlord and be like, yo, this broke. You gotta go, you gotta either fix it or you gotta pay somebody to fix it, you know. And so I mean, there's a lot of extra costs to that. So I mean, like renting could be cheaper, right? Like it's just a fact, but I mean, there's different elements to a house that like it's your ownership, it's maybe putting that money aside into the equity. So I mean, if you're trying to look for that and like like permanent fixture or whatever, maybe houses is the best for you. But like renting, it leaves you more flexible and adapt to like go other places. You're not stuck. You're not anchored down. I get it. So I get what you're saying. I mean, it's super dependent. What I guess sort of risks then, because I know that was something we had talked about that we were gonna talk about here today. What sort of like are like the main risks associated with owning a home? Either in your experience or just in general. So just to start off, it's just like, I mean, if you have a dog and the dog bites someone on your property, and then they can sue you for those damages, or even the risks of your roof falling in due to like hail damage, and then snow, like just there's a whole list. So I mean, just in general, knowing being aware of those different kind of things is like tough, and like it's like better to talk to someone about, like not just me, but like your insurance broker for like your home insurance.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to insure for all those things to happen, or like to make sure that they can be recovered and remedied, and you pay like only $15 a month for, or not 15, like $100 a month for that, and then you won't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Right. So like, it's things that you want to insure and not insure is definitely up to you. But I mean, for a house in general,
that'd be tough to get sued over a dog biting somebody, man.
Right. Yeah.
That would be tough.
And like some insurers don't even insure that. Like, you have to check a box to make sure that's clicked. So it's like, if you don't have a dog, then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Right. So, but it's just those certain things that, like, there's so many different things to think about, that I'm learning about now, but also just like in general, like learning about insurance. It's just like another thing. It's like some things aren't covered, some things are covered, and just like talking about
and kind of choosing
somebody.
what things, like, because I know we in one of our discussions, like before, today, we had talked about how sometimes it makes more sense to have less things be covered, so you're paying a little less because it's maybe, if it's a car, or if it's a home, maybe a piece of a home or some other thing, right, where it's like you're not really super worried about that, then you can be taking that money and investing it elsewhere,
right?
Which is another thing that I thought was really interesting. So you're being so young and owning a home, what like, obviously you didn't have a ton of student loan debt, we talked about that. What are like our like people maybe that are watching this, because I know I've got a lot of younger viewers, a lot of people around my age and your age, right? What are some things that we should be doing to be more financially aware, in a sense, to be more in tune with what we're spending it on, and how we can start putting ourselves in a situation to kind of be happy and be not necessarily successful, but just kind of have a little bit of financial freedom? Yeah,
that's a tough question. I mean, just in general, there's not like a one solution for everybody, but I mean,
what's something that your friends maybe do that or you don't even have to name a friend or anything like that, but just maybe something you see people our age like mistake that they're making? Like, what's like something that you gotta stop doing that? For me, it's spending too much money out at foods. Like,
I mean,
food.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I mean, just budgeting for your month. I mean, are you going to go out like 2 times a week, or are you gonna like go out like all 5 days a week while you're going to work or whatever? You're just out, and just having that mentality of knowing, like, I'm actually spending this money, or could I be putting it for my future, that correlate with your goals, right? Yeah. You have to have like certain kind of financial goals in mind, because then it kind of gives you more motivation to want to like not go out as much. Yeah. So I would say like realizing and being aware of those goals, maybe like readjusting your habits in general. Yeah. So it's not just like one distinct thing that you can change. Like, learning those goals could change the outlook of everything. But again, just don't spend money, I guess. Like, but save a little bit more. I don't know. So it's just I'm big on just like saving a little bit more. Yeah. Because like, even buying a house, you got to have money to spend on. Or if you want to buy a new car, you got to have some money down for that. Exactly. To, like, take out. So. And another thing is like being aware of your credit score in general too. It's
I need to get aware of mine. I don't know what it is. So.
Right. So I mean, there's a lot of like institutions out there that give it for free, like Credit Karma, or even your banks.
I heard they ding it every time you check it. Is that a real thing or no?
No. Yeah,
really?
Credit Karma. It's like a soft check. So it's like, in general, you like can just look it up, and they'll look at like 2 of the 3 credit bureaus to like see your score. But yeah, from there, like, you can also just track it to be like every month it updates. So like, and it's like weird because like there's a whole algorithm like that affects it. And
I've always wondered like how it seems kind of wanky how they like decide what your score is, and then that they use that to determine what kind of interest rates you're going to get and things like that. Exactly. Right?
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, the number of accounts that you have open affect you. It's the average account like open, like yearly that you have open. Sorry, I can't say that right.
No,
but either way, but yeah, so it's like the average length of time that you have credit open for.
Yeah.
So like if you open a credit card now and you opened one when you were 18, it's going to take the average of those two, and that's that.
Interesting.
So
is it almost like, is there like a penalization one way or the other? Like if you have a ton of credit cards, they're gonna look at you and be like, oh, that person is better or worse off than someone who has less, or is it again determined on like a case by case?
So I mean, honestly, just by looking at the algorithm, if you have more accounts, you're better off.
Really?
Which is very scary to people.
Yeah.
But just it's scary too, because if you have all that credit available to you, you're almost more apt to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Which that other takes like another mindset to be like, yes, I have $2,000 available to me, but you just have to stick to like your budget and know what you have to like make and all that kind of stuff. So different credit cards or
that's
loans.
why I've always been weird about getting one, is that like I have friends that have gone into a couple of $1,000s worth of debt just because they had it, you know. And that's the thing where it's like, I know that you need it. I know that you need credit. I'm not trying to be speaking out against credit, but it just seems like who decided that we need credit? Like who was like, you know what? You have to pull out a credit card. You have to use money you don't have, and then be able to pay that back. And it's not necessarily that you don't have it, because that's just the other thing too. I think it's so stupid that it's like people will tell you, and I know that you should do this, that like I should pull out a credit card right now and use it for just like my subscriptions, and then set it up to auto pay from my debit card, because I do that anyways, right? It pays. Right. But it's like, why the fuck can't they just see that I pay my shit every month? And you know, and like that's definitely confusing for myself. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
It's definitely confusing, and it's hard to like think about. It's like you don't really want to open more accounts, because to open an account they do an inquiry, like you were saying, like the check or whatever, and that hurts. Yeah. But then if you have it open and then it counts, like your utilization rate goes down, but you have enough credit available to you that your credit score goes up. And if you have a lower, like if you spend the credit card just a little bit every month, and it's like in between a percentage of the entire amount available to you, then it's better for the credit score. And then
it's crazy. Yeah.
The number of counts, as they increase, they have like a green section where it's like it gives you the most points for that. It's like, it's
how does it work for those store credit cards? Because like
that's another account.
Okay, that's another account.
Yeah, too. And they give you like,
will that ding you too, signing up for like an
inquiry? Eagle? Yeah, because they have to do a background check and a credit check and all this other stuff. And
yeah, that's wild, man. Yeah, it just seems kind of flawed to me.
It's a game almost. Yeah, and it's so picky. But I mean, it could help you out. I mean, credit is good if you don't have a whole lot of money, because like if you want a new car or whatever, and you don't want to like just spend $2,000 or whatever, and you want like a fancy car eventually, right? Like then you have to take out a loan, because not everybody just has $20,000.
I heard somebody told me, and I don't know if this is true. I think maybe it was my dad. I don't know who it was. So if it wasn't you, Dad, and you're watching or listening, don't get mad at me. I could have sworn I was telling somebody, because they were telling me I need to get a credit card at some point. And I was like, no, I'm going to just wait till I make it. I'm going to just pull up to the dealership and buy a car in cash. And they were like, some places won't let you do that. And I was like, really? Is that a real thing? I don't know if you know about that.
I wouldn't know right now.
But that would be, like, that just seems a little absurd to me, that if like I had like 50 G's in cash, that they'd be like, nah, we don't know where that's been.
I don't think they would turn you down. If you came up with like a bunch of money and you like gave it to them, I don't think they would turn you away.
Good, because that would piss me off.
Right.
Not that this is all hypothetically, because I have like almost no money to my name. So please subscribe. But yeah, I've always wondered that since I heard that. I don't know who told me that, but.
No, that'd be weird. Because like, I mean, even if you watch Mr. Beast, I saw that.
Yeah.
He pulled up to a dealership in all pennies, and they still gave him a car.
Yeah.
And they had to count every single penny, and they still were like, yeah, you can buy a car with the 2 million pennies that you came in with. So like, I don't think they would turn you away.
Good. Good. So when it happens one day, then they won't turn me away, which is important. And so I think I've alluded to it a couple of times. You've helped me out, and we've talked a couple of times now prior to this, like about in terms of like financial awareness and literacy and stuff like that. Kind of just seeing where I was at, and you know, me gaining some knowledge from you basically I didn't have before. And I really appreciate you helping me. And I actually have a question for you that kind of pertains to me, and I don't really care that I'm sharing this, but so my financial aid for school is like fucked up right now, where they won't give me it. And I apparently, I don't know if I have a lot of money or something that they're trying to give. Maybe they're going to pay off my whole thing again, because usually I get a lot of Pell Grant, and they want me to like prove that it's me, and so they want a 4506 T form from the IRS, right? So what I have to do, so I had to fill that out from them, send that to the IRS, and I have to wait for the IRS to send me back my W-2s from that specific year, because it's like from 2017 or 2018.
Okay.
And I have to give them that. How do I know when the IRS is going to give me that back? Is it just like is there a way to call the IRS?
Did you go through online?
I faxed it to them online. Like I used like an online fax thing.
Okay.
Because I don't have a fax machine.
Yeah, no, I know I've had trouble with the FAFSA as well, just like trying to make the identity of even my mom.
Yeah.
So
I also have to do it for myself and my mom. I had to fax both of our 45. Like I had to fill out a 4506 form, whatever it is.
That's so weird. I don't know. I would just say in general, go online to see if there's like a tracking number, or like a conversation, something like that. Did you get like an email back or something?
No,
saying
and then
that they
Parkside
received
was
it?
like, yeah, well, no, I didn't. And then Parkside emailed me. This was like a week ago when I sent it, and like Parkside's all like, hey, we still didn't get your stuff yet. Like, we're not gonna give you your financial aid if you don't get this. And I was like, and I emailed them back. I was like, hey, you told me to send this to them, and I did, and I'm waiting for it back. Like, I don't know what you want from me. And I don't mean to put you on the spot. It's kind of a dumb question, but
for sure.
I just am curious. And if anybody else knows who's listening to this either on Spotify the next day or YouTube, if you guys have any idea, please let me know, because I do not know what I'm doing at this point. Like, it has been all year. And
it's a weird experience.
I still haven't gotten, I think we talked about this before, I haven't gotten my stimulus check, and I didn't get my tax return. So, like, the government is not on my side today, or this year, I should say.
Things are a little crazy over in the government right now.
Yeah, they're a little weird now.
And I was saying this to him earlier. Just make sure you got direct deposit set up.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're doing it by paper, just like, they got a form on the IRS website where you can fill out the direct deposit, put your checking, savings, whatever. So it's just like easier for them because they can just process it online instead of like having to fill out like personal checks to send to you and like double check that the numbers are right and all this other stuff. So, but yeah, no, for the FAFSA, that's a lot. It's so like nuanced, specific, like to you right there.
Yeah.
But I would just say like, go back through and read what they actually need, because if you just need to submit a W-2, you might have that laying around in your house somewhere.
That's what I looked. I don't have the 2018 specifically one. Or it's like I forget which year it is, but it's like I don't specifically have it, or we had it for one of us and not the other one, and so I had to fill out these things.
And you said like your grandfather, right? Like prepares that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Would he have like a copy or anything?
He
like
might,
that?
and if he's listening, because he listens like, sometimes, please
reach out, please.
Because I don't fucking know where it is. Yeah, and the semester's almost over, so they're coming. They're literally been messaging me like every day, like, bro, you need to get this to us. Like, we're sick and tired.
They might charge like a late fee or something like that, but I would just like, don't worry about it too much. I gotten a late fee one year when I was at URock too, because my financial aid was messed up my sophomore year. It was messed up. I didn't get it. It was second semester. I did not get it until I already was leaving URock. Like they paid it off, and they backdated because like they messed up. Right. They backdated and paid the late fee, thankfully. But like I had to pay it first out of pocket, and then they paid me back like extra refund. But maybe hopefully that's what's going on this time. That's so like worrisome though. It's like so nerve wracking. It's like what I like filled all around. They told me it was gonna be paid for, and now they're not. And
exactly.
Now, like the school's telling me that what's gonna happen, and it's scary.
Well, and at that time, I'll be honest with you too, I wasn't very financially responsible in those couple of months because I was hooping still at the school, and my only job, I mean, during the basketball season, I don't think I didn't bartend at all, or very little, and then I would just work at the school for like open gyms and stuff. So I was making very little money. It's like $7 an hour or something, like for like 6-7 hours a week. And I remember it got to a point where I literally didn't have food to eat at my apartment, and I was having to go play a basketball game for the school. And my dean, who was like, I was in my dean's office like every day trying to get like my financial aid figured out. And like she was on the phone with different people trying to help me. She ended up like fronting me money to like get food. Cause she like, she heard my stomach, we were in a meeting and my stomach like growled like 4 or 5 times. She's like, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I just like, my stomach hurts. And she was like, no, Darren, are you okay? And I was like, I'm good. And then I started like tearing up and shit. She was like, it was bad. It was bad. But she hooked it up. So shout out UW Rock County at Whitewater now. They changed the name. So whatever.
Yeah. No, that small school was super nice. I mean, all the staff and everything, everyone was super friendly.
Super cool there.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that I went there. And like you were mentioning earlier, it's saving money. Yep. It's crazy. Like student loan debt is terrible in this country, and I do think that the price of school should be dropped in general, but I also think that there are a lot of cheaper alternatives that people should honestly consider. Yeah. And then they would be more fun too, because that's the thing, like everybody's always like, oh, I want to go there to get the college experience, you want to go to the big school, whatever. Mm-hmm. But like if everybody just thought, I'm gonna spend less money, then you would get the college experience at the smaller school, and everyone would be paying less, and everyone would be, I don't know. Yeah, that's just my little.
Yeah, we just got to form together a big group of people.
We just got to get a coalition of students that like, I'm not paying to go to Madison. I'm paying to go to URock.
Right.
In shitty old Janesville.
Hey, they probably could not handle all those people coming at all.
They couldn't.
I mean, some of the rooms were packed, and you had like 20 people in there.
Oh yeah, the rooms were, the biggest class I think I had was like 40 in like a weird lecture hall. But so with people that do have student loans though, so I myself don't. I mean, who knows after the semester? Maybe I will. Hopefully it gets figured out. But for those that do and maybe are trying to move forward, trying to maybe get a house, get a car, whatever those things are, how should they be kind of maneuvering in like the financial landscape as a young adult with the student loan debt baggage?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, when you have student loans, like it's a heavy weight to bear, like just going through life.
With you till you die too.
Right.
Like, that's fucking
like it's
ridiculous.
never going away unless you make those payments. So like
or fake your death. There you go.
I guess that's one way to do it.
Oh, that's fair.
Nice.
That's fair.
No, so more often you just hear like people say like, oh, I just got to pay it off as soon as possible. Right. Yeah. And like you don't have to. You can like be in control more than just having to make those like extra payments to get it down faster, where you could just like make those minimum payments, maybe a little bit more to like pay it off a little bit sooner, but put that extra money that you were gonna like can pay towards it and put it towards something else, like putting more to savings. Because if you want to go to a dealership and just pay cash for a car, you got to have that cash on the side to do it, and you don't really want to wait to like pay down this $17, $30, maybe $100,000 worth of student debt. Just waiting is just prolonging your life to actually happen. So like putting that money aside can actually put you in control and like actually plan out like a certain goals and plans that you can actually achieve.
Yeah, and kind of not be like held back from it.
Exactly.
You can still keep moving. I've always thought too, because instead of just paying it, like you were saying, like pay like the minimum payment, maybe a little bit more, but if you were going to pay like these big chunks, instead of doing that, like taking whatever small portion of maybe that big chunk and putting that into, you know, either some like safe investments or a savings account where it's going to have a little bit of interest, because it's like, even if you're still going to use it to pay off the student loans, you're literally doing nothing, and it's going to be more money and pay the student loans off easier for you.
Right.
You did less work.
Exactly.
So I've always thought of it that way, kind of. Granted, I don't have student loans, so it's kind of like a hypothetical in my head.
No, for sure. And I mean, just in general, I've talked to some people that do have student loans, and they're like, yeah, I got to pay this off as soon as possible. It's like, yeah, we want to achieve those goals, right? We want to be debt free, but maybe there's some other goals that we can check off along the lines to make sure that you're financially set up to where if anything does happen, you're not having to go back into debt because you don't have like $2,000 saved up for a car repair or whatever it is. So like having that money set aside to like just in case, or if an opportunity comes along, like you can pay for that. So like there's multiple like benefits to having some savings on the side, and maybe not as making as much of the payments down on that loan. And that applies to like not just student loans, but other loans as well. But like even credit cards, I mean, even houses, if you don't want to pay down the house right away. Because like right now, if you took out a house, the interest rate is so low that you can probably like borrow that money, take equity out and put it into an investment and actually make more on the money that it's like free money. So like the cost to borrow.
Is that because of COVID and stuff right now too, isn't it? Like buying houses is like
not
decently
really
cheap,
I mean that it was happening before COVID. Was
really?
Like those interest rate, like it's crazy, right? It's like everything's so low.
I've heard that, but I obviously don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, it's all about like the government and the Fed trying to like control our inflation and GDP and all this other stuff. So like they control what the cost of borrowing is and even giving interest on like your regular savings account. So they just say like, oh, we're going to put like some stops or increase it whenever, which will increase borrowing and all this other stuff. So long story short, like, yeah, they control that, but that was unrelated to, I mean, it could relate to COVID because they're trying to spark up the economy.
Yeah.
If you're trying to like do stuff, buy a car or whatever, it's a lot cheaper than what it was like just a year and a half ago. So
yeah, which is, that's to entice people to go out and do those things.
Exactly.
Right? Make it more available, which is a good thing. When we were talking student loan debt and whatnot, and how you mentioned it's a very heavy weight to bear. It got me thinking a little bit about just like the psyche of like people that maybe are more financially stable. Yeah, I guess. What have you noticed in people that maybe you've talked with or met with, that either maybe that you did financially advise or people you just know, that what's like a quality or habit that you see people that are doing well, that are like financially speaking? Obviously, it doesn't mean that their money doesn't mean you're happy, but I think it was as Gelstone, he's a rapper, once said, money can't buy me happiness, but I'm happiest when I can buy whatever I want, whenever I want.
Yeah.
So.
No, for sure. It's going back to those habits. I mean, if you have some goals and you're like motivated, just like to do the things around you, like your hobbies or whatever. If one of your hobbies is like saving money and putting that money aside, or understanding like insurance in general, like you can free up cash flow that way, or knowing that in order to do stuff, you have to sacrifice your like present satisfaction or any of that kind of stuff for the future gain. Yeah. So knowing that and having those habits, I just see like it's easier to understand other concepts too. So like moving into like other investments or that kind of thing, you kind of know that you kind of have to wait a little bit. You have to like sit back and maybe not go out as much, or not buy the fanciest car right away. Get a beater or whatever just to get you from point A to point B, just to like build some savings, get you into a house.
It's kind of almost simple, isn't it? It's not. I mean, there's a lot of complexity to it when you get down to the details, but it's like really like it's set up to work your ass off, put time in, save money, sacrifice the now to get better, kind of like everything, right? What's that? My dad's saying my cousin Vinny's hobby is saving money. He keeps it in a shoebox but doesn't pay interest.
Right, the box definitely doesn't pay interest, but in general, putting that money away is going to help you tremendously in the future. Because like if you look at a savings account right now in a bank, what is that paying you? I know we had talked about that a little bit. Like at your brick and mortar Associated Bank, US Bank right down the street, they're not going to pay you that much for having money in the savings account. Yeah, it's something. Yeah. But when you only have about $100, you're getting like
not even
like 50 cents a year or something like that. And you're trying to keep up with inflation and all this other rising costs, but having that idea that like that's your piggy bank, or that like I'm going to use this money in the future and I'm not going to touch it or spend it on whatever. It's just going to be used for things in the future, whether it is repairing a car up, like getting a fancy coat or whatever it is, like I'm going to buy gifts for somebody, you have that mentality of like putting money away. And that's going to help you in the future of like, if you want to buy a house or whatever, you got to put that money away to put in the 20% to get like a lower interest rate, right? Like, it just correlates.
I feel like you got to know yourself a lot too. Like, I think a lot of people, you got to be, I'm speaking from not a financial advisor perspective, but I just think like people that understand their own tendencies as a person, not even like with purchases and whatnot. I think then you're more likely that'll translate. Where like I've had friends where they and I'm not saying I'm above impulse buys, but I think I even have a highlight on my show that I talked about. I bought a stupid thing, a shirt or whatever, a couple months ago, but I think there's a lot of people that don't have maybe they're not self-aware in a sense where they just like can't get a grip on their own maybe negative habits, right? And it's like if you are someone that tends to impulse buy,
right,
then maybe just don't have a whole lot of cash on you when you go to the store, right? Don't have a ton of cash on you in your wallet when you're out grocery shopping, because you're gonna see that thing, but I got a couple $100 on me, sure, I'll buy that, whatever, or just kind of being aware that like if you're gonna like if you've, like you said, if you've saved a lot of money, if you've been saving money, if you've been staying diligent and being smart with your spending, then okay, it's cool every once in a while to get yourself something nice. I mean, we're living, right? We're not just this paycheck or this bank account. We gotta enjoy ourselves. But I think a thing that I've noticed in people that I see that are struggling more than others are kind of just an inability to like understand where they don't know where they're going. Like we talked about, I think you mentioned goals a couple of times here already today. And like, I think something that I notice about people that have really bad spending habits is that they just don't have like any particular, like very defined goals in life, and that's okay in a way. But I think once you know where you want to go, then the pieces start falling into place of what you need to do on a day-to-day basis. And then that translates to shopping and financial decisions. Exactly. For me personally, I don't know. That's
for sure. And if you want to live that kind of lifestyle, just keep a little savings on the side. I mean, just like sacrifice that month or two to like have some savings built up, and then whatever your income is coming in, then pay that down, and just like leave that savings aside just in case down the way, like if something does come up, you're okay, right? And then maybe even then, like you've built that habit of saving, maybe you don't need to do that anymore. So it's like you said, it could be really simple. Like the idea of, you just got to put money away. But also it's hard because life does happen, right? Yeah. Like you go out with friends. Oh, we're just going to grab a bite to eat out. We're not going to go home, go to the grocery store or whatever and just buy some chicken and rice and just cook. So like it's hard too. Like it's definitely a lot harder, even though that it's just like a simple concept of just saving money.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's never, I forgot what. There's a quote. Maybe it's not a quote. I don't know. I feel like success in general isn't very, it's not complicated, but it's not easy. It's pretty straightforward, but it doesn't make it easy, right? You still have to be very disciplined. I think, I was going to mention, there was something I wanted to ask you about right before we kind of went off on that tangent. I'll think of it in a second. But what was like the first piece of knowledge? Because I want to know how you got into wanting to do this, right? How you got into wanting to become a financial advisor.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration for doing something like that, for getting into this?
Yeah, it starts back just when I was a kid. I mean, I know like I had a decent childhood. I'm not going to say I didn't, but it also meant that like my mom was sacrificing her financial health to have me do basically whatever I wanted, going into all the sports, all the sporting events, traveling all over the place. So like understanding that, seeing that in the future, and then seeing how that ended up in her like favor, which was not the greatest situation. And I was just like, I don't want to like put myself in that situation or like put my kids into that situation. And then I was thinking back to like, we're from this like smaller town where we got like no financial literacy. When we were going through our finance class in high school, it's just like, this guy's telling us, right, what to do and maybe some different tricks, but he didn't tell us how to open up a credit card. Like all that kind of stuff, or what to like look for and that kind of stuff, or even what the credit score even means.
Yeah, I had no idea. We watched Oprah's Debt Diet.
Yeah, right. So like we had to go off to like see what some celebrity had to say about it instead of like reaching out. Because like I'm not discrediting his knowledge or anything like that. It's just there's curriculum that the schools get to teach, and they might not do more.
And
than
you
that.
got to think time. Like we're really like think about some of the other. I think we talked about this a couple months ago on the show. I don't understand how you get a half a year, not even a full half a year, but just like a half a semester to learn financial literacy. There's another class too. I really don't understand. I think they discontinued it at our high school. Was like consumer auto, and I think that is the dumbest thing to discontinue because like I wish I'm not big on cars. I don't love getting dirty with cars. I know I got some people that watch podcasts that do. That's not me, and it would have been so great though to take a fucking even if it was a summer school class or whatever. Just like they teach you like. Change your own oil, save a ton of money, change your own oil. I've done it a couple times and it's just not very fun, but at least I would have known how to do it and not had to learn like harder ways, right? Teach you how to change your own oil, teach you how to check all your basic things like your transmission and all these other things.
Real life skills that will save you money down the road.
Yeah, because how much fraud there is in the automobile industry and repair is ridiculous. Every time they're like, oh, you got to change your air filter. That's another $30 or whatever, and like they're just trying to tack on these costs. I think that's crazy. And the same thing with financial literacy, but where like we get a half a semester or a semester, I should say, half a year, to learn everything to be ready to be adults. How do you expect that to happen? And a lot of people don't go to college, so how the hell are they supposed to know? Like
and it's like we get so scared too being here. It's like, oh, are we gonna be able to afford college? Like we see where our parents are. We're not buying like the most crazy things. Are we gonna be able to afford this $10,000 a year, $5,000 a year tuition? And it's like, how are we gonna afford that? Well, there's options. There's student loans. I mean that affords you to get that knowledge and that kind of stuff.
It's a big investment for
progress you, and then you're just told like, oh, I guess we went over a lease.
We did. I remember that
class.
Vividly. He like slapped it, like held it up.
Yeah, he was saying this is super important because he was a landlord himself and he was super into that.
Yeah,
because he probably had some bad experiences with tenants and stuff. But in general, so just like seeing that kind of stuff, growing up, and then also just in general, I like helping people. I've always been the person in a class, like if I understood something, I would be in a group and trying to explain it. Yeah. And I guess I got some soft skills that way to like try and help people or whatever. And it's just like, I was like, I'd rather have the general good just go up and like the altruistic point of view. And then just seeing like where I came from and that kind of stuff. And then the biggest thing was my dad had a financial advisor, and I had no idea he did growing up because like my parents were separated, so that's why this is relevant. Yeah. To preface all that. Gotcha. But yeah, so he had a financial advisor, and he actually brought me with one time during a meeting, and he was like, "Yeah, this might be a good career for you because you're just helping people, and it's actually super easy to get into, but also it's just like a lot of knowledge that not a lot of people have." So I was like, oh, that's like an opportunity. I had no idea at that point that I was going to be a financial advisor. I was still doing accounting at that point, and that was,
everybody who watches my podcast knows how I feel about accounting. So that's
no, I went through a whole 4-year degree for that, and it's just, it was fun. I did like enjoy learning accounting and that kind of stuff, but
it's probably important to know accounting to do what you're doing. I mean, you don't have to, but I'm sure it helps.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Because like everybody has a balance sheet, and what that consists of is all of the things you own and all the things that you owe, like loans and all that kind of stuff. And like the excess of assets over liabilities is your net worth. Mm-hmm. Like actually your worth as like a company yourself. Yeah. And even the like how I approach things, I like to put people onto that balance sheet. It's like it's a better way to like organize things and just kind of understand. Are you putting towards those assets, like when you have the income coming in, all that other stuff? But yeah, so like accounting's super relevant when that comes into play. Yeah. But also just like investing too. It's like I know what makes up the company. They have to report all these like numbers every year and stuff, and making sure that the company's like actually worth investing in. So like reading those financial documents, I can. Just because like I've looked at a bunch of those documents throughout like my school.
Yeah, I mean you were trained to be able to analyze.
Right, and then also it bleeds into taxes because like accountants do taxes. They file taxes and all this other stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's super helpful when it comes to like our personal balance sheet as well. Is like there's sales tax that you have to pay every time you go out to eat something or at the store or whatever. And then also you got to pay income taxes, and how does that work?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, just in general, the whole system of like we just pay the government now and hopefully we paid more, and then we're excited to get like a paycheck at the end of the year or the beginning of the year. And it's like, well, maybe it'd be better to like actually not pay as much throughout the year
and then be putting that into other things,
right? And
possibly making more money off of that money you're spending.
So
giving it to them.
It's just a personal preference, because we've always heard like, oh, we're gonna get this huge check at the beginning of the year and then we can spend it on a vacation or do something else.
You don't get anything from anybody.
That's tough.
It's ridiculous.
I feel for you for sure.
It's stupid. It's just dumb at this point. But I want to know what was like the first, as you're learning all these things, right? You're getting into this, you're finally sinking your teeth in. What was like the first like maybe aha moment of like this someone you're learning from somebody, or maybe something that was passed on to you, information that was taught to you, like just any piece of knowledge that you were like, oh, that's how that works. That makes a lot of sense. Jeez. Was there any one singular moment, or maybe just an idea?
So when I was in school, like just in general, learning about insurance, because like nobody really knows too much about insurance, and I almost got a second like major in like risk management and insurance. I was like one class away, unfortunately.
Oh, wow.
But either way, like learning about that and just like knowing that like you can free up, like even health insurance, like it was required by law to have health insurance, but nobody really knew how it worked. Like what is copay? What is co-insurance? A higher deductible versus a lower deductible. What does that mean for you? And just like going from there, it's like not everybody knows this. Yeah. And it was just like, I want to be able to spread that to people that I know, so they're not like paying more money down the line
than they need to. Yeah.
Right. So like there's ways to like plan around that to like make sure that you are being the most efficient with your money that you're actually earning. That like you're going to work every day, spending basically like more than half your life just like sweating, working for somebody else.
Yeah.
And then not being efficient with it when you actually have it in your hands. So it's like building that control or whatever. So like that was kind of like the moment where like I need to say something to people about this. So I think in general that insurance piece was where it all started and like stemmed for and had me start switching.
That's where you kind of started realizing like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I think too, like even, some of the words you're throwing out there, like deductible and copay and whatnot. And some people might know, you might know a couple of these, like you might have a couple of these words in your vocabulary, but like when you start like really diving deep into it, it's almost like it's like set up in a way where I'm not meant to understand it. Regular people aren't meant to understand it, right? And I think that's kind of scary for a lot of people. But
like, again, like it was required by law for you to have it. So like you should be able to like understand and know what that contract you're signing and paying money to every month is like going towards.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I think like most people should know how insurance works and whether you should do that. But again, like we don't. Like insurance wasn't a thing we did in that financial literacy class.
No, absolutely not.
But like you're required by law for health insurance, auto insurance, all this other stuff. And it's just like, but we have no idea what we're signing up for. We're just told that we have to have it.
Yeah, it is bizarre. It is really weird.
So
kind of thrown into that.
Right.
What's a like specific maybe principle of maybe some sort, what's like a specific protection principle that you like to either keep in mind when you're talking with people that maybe you're advising or friends and family that you care about? Like what's something that you like to make sure that they're conscious of?
Yeah, just like the different risks like we were kind of touching on earlier of like what could happen around you, and are you set up to where if something does happen, are you able to make sure that like it's remedied, or like you're still set up to like keep moving forward, you can still work or do all like achieve those goals that we were talking about earlier. So like just being aware of those different things around you, and then also knowing like if you are aware of those and you are like worried that they can happen and they can really like change your outcome of life because of that happening, maybe insurance is there for you to like you can like spread out the cost instead of like having that one event happen and then you're required to pay all at once. Whereas
it's like
you
another way of taking control, like you were saying earlier, kind of
exactly
not letting it happen to you,
right?
You know, sort of.
So I mean, there's different things. Like also, it's like if you don't have that disposable income right now, could we do some stuff to like get you there to make sure that you do? I mean, obviously you can't just change your job and make more money.
Yeah.
But just like being efficient with
the money you do get.
Exactly. Yeah. So like that's much more than just like saying that I need to save more money. It's also being aware of like what you can do with the money you do have.
That's something that, you know, what kind of drives me crazy. I've had a lot of my friends. I mean, it's like our generation right now is stuck on. We were supposed to be the generation to quit smoking, and we somehow got wrapped into this nicotine, vaping and everything, right? And so many of my friends that make around or a little bit more or a little bit like around the same amount of money as me, I see them in much worse off positions because of things like that, right? They're wasting. Right. I mean, you got to think like, I don't know off the top of my head. You want to look up real quick, McKenna, how much a pack of Juuls costs? I think it's like $35 or $40.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous, and people are going through like each one of them, not like a whole pack. I don't know how the hell it works. I know it's like little pods. But I think like you get a pack of 3 or something or 4 for like $30 or $40. I can't remember, but I've luckily never gotten into any of it. But like I just can't imagine, or even people that have like bad other like drug addictions or alcohol abuse.
Any
like
addiction in general is crazy.
Because think about like the financial stress you're weighing. Like if you cut that out.
Yep.
Or it's some people fast food even. It's and that's why I mentioned it earlier. It's like so many people will spend, like you were saying, well, you're going to go out twice a week, or you can be someone that, you know, you eat McDonald's every day before work, on your way back from work, and maybe again as a snack, like whatever. The amount of money, the sheer amount of money that you're just kind of pissing away almost, you know, and it I don't mean to, I know people with addiction and whatnot, it's a struggle. I've had, certain addictions myself, nothing to substance related, but I'm not saying it's something easy to quit, but if you like I think when people start writing it down, like when you start like making a balance sheet like you're talking about, you kind of realize like, oh shit,
right,
that's how much I'm spending on that. I got to cut some of that out. Did you figure out how much it was?
Like a 4-pack's like $16.
Oh, 4 packs. Okay, 16. That's way more reasonable than I thought it was at 30.
Right. If you're going through like a pod a day.
But a lot of people I know are going through about a pod a day. So, I mean, and that's a 4-pack you said is 16? Damn. Okay. So
and like that's probably like online through like Amazon or whatever versus like going to a convenience store or a gas station where they're going to
like 20 or 25, yeah.
So, yeah, it's almost like going like fast food eating like every day basically. And then if they have to deal with that, they're probably also having to deal with how are they eating. So it's like just exponentially gets worse.
It's crazy, man. And I know it's not easy. Like we said before, it's not easy, but it's also not complicated. You just we got to get these things out of your way, out of your life. You got to get out of your own way almost, in a sense.
Yeah, it's that whole mental habit. It's like getting that routine down, or like what you were saying, actually seeing it down on paper or seeing it in front of you. It's like it makes you more self-aware, right? So like making those decisions moving forward could be better for you. So
well, that's what they say, checklists too. I don't know if I talked about this before, but checklists, I know there was like a famous quote from like a NASA scientist that that he said like the biggest, like the best thing he's ever done is make checklists. And that's what like they say, like the most successful people in the world, like, and you don't have to like actually write down a checklist. I do, but I know like a lot of people don't, and they just make mental notes of it. But like checklists in general, it's almost like a balance sheet, right? It's just like just having like okay, this is what I need to do. Now I'm gonna do that. Okay, I got this one done.
Yep.
Check it off. This is done. I saved this. I worked X amount of hours. I'm gonna pay these things off, these expenses that I owe. I have this money that I'm saved now. What am I gonna do with it? You know, I think again, it's just about being aware of it all.
Yeah, and like even having those checklists or those goals written down, it's like if you have it somewhere where you see it often, it's like, oh, you're always reminded that you have to go and do something about it, right?
It's the law of attraction, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you got that to-do list, even like you got chores, keeping up with like just cleaning even. It's like
Yeah.
if you see it, it's like, oh yeah, I have to go do that, or else you just like sit there and just not think about it because you have other things going on because life is freaking crazy right now.
Yeah.
So, like,
especially right now.
If you have like a checklist and things to do, it's like just fitting other things into it, forcing yourself to like, oh yeah, you got to keep yourself like hold yourself to it. Or
You gotta,
whatever.
you keep yourself accountable. That's what, like, I have an agenda, and I, along with like checklist. I mean, it's usually, I would say my agenda is usually like basically just a checklist, but daily. And
Mhm.
like I'll have something written down that maybe it's a video or a song, whatever, and I'll have it written down. Maybe it was on like a Tuesday I was supposed to do it. If I don't do it, I still see it every other day of that week when I go to check my agenda, and I'm pissed. I'm pissed at myself, and I think it's sometimes it gets to like maybe a toxic point, but it definitely makes me get shit done, holds myself accountable, where
Yeah.
I'm like embarrassed that I didn't cross this thing off the list.
Yeah.
You know, and I think when it comes to financial stability and whatnot, it's a similar thing where it's like, all right, I wanted to stop spending as much money at McDonald's, and it's like, damn it, I went to McDonald's still 5 times this week. Like, what
Mhm.
do I got to do? Like, you know, you
Right.
got to look yourself in the mirror at some point and be like, it's really not worth it. Or I know people that will buy video games and don't got the money for rent, and they're like buying a new video game.
Yeah.
Video games are not cheap these days, man. There's $60 a game, brand new. PS5's out now. PS5. Do you play PS5 or Xbox?
I got an Xbox. I got an
okay.
Xbox One that was a gift like 3-4 years ago, and like I played it occasionally, but not enough to like.
So you're not gonna upgrade to the new one, probably, or not for a while.
Probably not.
Okay.
Like just like with my phone, I still have the iPhone 7, so
Oh
like
my goodness.
I'm still rocking
Dinosaur.
like super old. Like I bought it then because I really needed one, and now I'm just like, well, now there's 5G out. Maybe I should buy it, but then I'm like, I don't want to pay those like ridiculously priced like high prices right now. I'll just wait
Mhm.
like a year or so when it goes discount or whatever. I don't know, and then
Yeah.
the new one will come out. I don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, just in general, it's like I just keep waiting.
Yeah.
It still works, so
Yeah.
I just keep using it.
See, my shit, I don't know if you have an update or not. Apple they're on some shady shit. I know they had to like settle like that class action lawsuit a couple years back
Yeah.
or whatever. But like, cause if you update to the newest like software, but like you don't have the new phone, they like were caught that they were like there was a what would you call that? They were intentionally putting a glitch in it
Yep.
so it would not work for your older phone as
Yeah.
well.
Right.
Which is, and I think this will happen to me recently because my phone is not working now the last like 3 weeks since I updated.
I don't know. There's like a fine line. I always feel like when my phone starts glitching or whatever, I'll wait like a few days and go look for a software update, and there usually is one. So like
Mm-hmm.
they're not that shady all in all.
Mhm.
When they got caught, I'm sure they're a lot less shady, and they're like keeping themselves
yeah.
like on top of things. But yeah, no, just the whole like they call it like I forget, like some kind of obsolescence or whatever. They like make the older phones
That's what
obsolete.
HP got busted for that a while back. I
Yeah.
think too. They had a thing, and it was like, I forget if it was in what percentage it was that they found. This study found of their printers, but this was back in maybe like the early 2000s, were set up to stop working after 3.5 years.
Jeez.
Like they were like
Wow.
programmed to not make it past that point,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous, man. And that's, I mean, I guess 3 years is more than some people have their phones for, but I
Still.
mean, yeah, that's
Yeah.
still crazy.
And I mean, they come out with a new phone every year, so it's just like
I come out, dude. There's more cars than there are people. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
right.
All
There's
the
all
shit
the
we have.
manufacturers, but like
Yeah.
we all have different cars and all that other stuff. So it's like choices that we have to make, and
Yeah.
do we go with this? Is it brand loyalty or is it some other stuff?
And my mom just got a new car. She just got a new Kia.
Nice.
I don't know what kind it is though. It's out in the driveway. We'll have to figure it out.
Is,
But,
is it a sedan?
It's a sedan. Yeah.
Like a Forte?
Or no, not a sedan. I meant a.
SUV.
It's a SUV. It's like but it's not like a full on SUV.
Is it like a
It's like a crossover.
like a
or
Rio
compact.
or something like that? or-
Maybe. I don't know. It's not
remember.
the Soul though. I know it's
Mm.
not the Soul. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's a little bit bigger. I don't know.
Yeah.
What I want to know, Roren, we're approaching, I think we're just over an hour. What are some like last words you'd like to give the audience? Like what's something, if they haven't paid attention to anything we've been talking about, if they don't know anything they don't know anything about financial literacy at all, what do you want to leave them with?
So I think in general, just trying to figure out what you want to do, like whether it is like what you want to do for your life, even if it's like when you want to retire, just have some kind of goal in mind, because then you'll be more inclined to like try and achieve that goal. And then it kind of makes you think of like, what do you have to do to achieve that, instead of just like going through life and just like making sure like you're checking out I got a job, I got a house to live in or whatever. Having that goal in mind can really shape like your habits moving forward and that kind of thing. So it's not easy, but in general, like putting those goals down and just being aware of yourself and like what drives you is going to really help you out.
Yeah, I really think I agree with that 100% because that's something even I watch I watch a lot of movies. I mean, not right now. I guess we haven't seen any recently, but I watch a lot of videos breaking down how directors and writers like create movies and whatnot, and they say that a lot of the best storytellers, you write the ending. Like a lot of people say to write the ending first, because you know where you're going. Then you know where you have to get to. So then you start. It's easier to get those minute details because you know when things are going to call back, whatever. And I think even when we were talking earlier, it's when you know where you're going and you see the light at the end of the tunnel, you have a goal. You now, there's no fog. You know where you're going. So then, like you just said, you start figuring out, okay, what's step 2? What's step 3? What's step 4? And then you eventually are working towards the end of the tunnel. It might shift, might change, but I feel like you said, having a goal in general, probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, and then like I put on a side, just like don't be afraid to ask questions. Reach out to people who have probably gone through your situation, whether it be like family members, parents, or even like I'm plugging myself, just like different financial advisors. Like it's you're not gonna get charged for asking a question or going through stuff, because there's people out there that do want to help you, and just like myself, I just want to help as many people as possible understand like just financial goals in general. So like just reach out. Don't be afraid to ask that question. And it's like, if you're like feel embarrassed about your situation, I'm legally obligated to not share any information ever. So like I'm not going to share it with like my friends or my family. Like I do treat it like a profession and like my career. So like just reach out and just ask questions.
Where should people reach out to you if they want to get in touch with you? Roren, he's helping. We've talked behind the scenes multiple times. He knows what he's talking about. He'll do whatever he can to help you. So why don't you tell them where they can reach out to you?
So I work for Third Coast Advisors. We're a firm up in Madison. We have a website. It's thirdcoastadv.com. We don't have advisors because like one of our employees took that, but whatever. No, you can go there just to like find out more information and just general stuff. But like for me personally, I have a Facebook business page, which is Roren Finney. You can probably find it through my like normal page, and also my LinkedIn, all that information. Message me or whatever. Like I'm always checking my phone. I'm always making sure that I'm on top of stuff. So like you can reach me at any of those places. And I give out like a few articles on different stuff from any age range, dealing with student loans, just savings in general, budgeting. Making sure taxes are taken care of and all this other stuff. So like I put out some helpful articles to like find out there, and for sure.
And like you said, this is me speaking directly to my audience. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Roren, he's here to help. I myself don't know anything. If you want to ask me about other things, I'll help you with some other things, life choices and whatnot. But if you want to start getting a hold of your financial situation, maybe start understanding some things you don't understand, or maybe even just start talking about it, start getting the ball rolling. You don't have to make any decisions or do anything crazy right now. Definitely reach out to Roren on anything. I mean, he said here, his Facebook, LinkedIn, you can go to the website, Third Coast ADV, you said?
Yep.
And check him out over there. Anything else for us, Roren?
Yeah, no, not at all. I really appreciate being on and plugging me
appreciate
like that too.
I appreciate having you on, man. I really do.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a lot of fun having you on. I feel like I learned a lot. I feel like I've learned a lot behind the scenes from you as well. I appreciate the conversation as always. Sure. Appreciate you guys watching in the live chat. If you're listening on Spotify the next day, appreciate you as well. I want to say thank you to our patrons real quick. They should be on the screen right now. Thank you to you guys for supporting the channel. Really appreciate that. There are some exclusive videos and content over on our Patreon. So if you want to become a part of that, go to patreon.com/DarrenRita. With that being said, I want to also say thank you to Kenosha Auto Insurance for sponsoring another episode of the podcast. And this has been episode 74 of the Detox Podcast. I will see you guys next week.